Hey everyone, it's Shireen Vishmaya coming to you from the gorgeous and about to be quite stormy Maldives. Perfect for Mars Day, Mars in Scorpio, Scorpio season, new moon in Scorpio. So we're gonna go into all of that in this video, and also just wanted to reconnect with all of you because I have been definitely MIA for, God, I lost track, maybe the last year, maybe more than a year. It's been many months since I've made any videos or updates. I got lost in the bliss of the Kali temple, and I needed to re-emerge now back into the world to find my inspiration and focus to make a video, because there was just so much happening over the last year, I'm sure for many of us. And that's actually a theme right now with this new moon in Scorpio. It's like whatever cocoon or whatever deep secret kind of cave, psychologically or physically, that you've been hiding out in, you may feel suddenly you're about to re-emerge out of your secret hiding place. So this little Scorpio here is coming out of her little cave from India, which I very much enjoyed, having a lot of inner time and private time, but it's also really beautiful to come back out and also to see what's changed. You know, this is my first re-entry into what has been happening outside in the world. I'm not quite in the world yet, I'm still like in some other kind of loca here, I think, some other kind of divine dimension, but getting ready to head back in a few days. I'll be heading back, and I think all of us are getting ready to have a death rebirth experience at the Scorpio new moon, as we do every year. But this one is especially electrifying because it's opposite the planet of awakenings, the one that looks like, the glyph looks like a spaceship. I always tell my clients, see this one that looks like a spaceship, because you really feel like it's some energy that's coming from some other dimension, that, you know, this other frequency, this thing you could have never predicted or expected, the most unexpected. So even as an astrologer, you can't really predict what will happen to somebody during a Uranus transit, and so I can't even predict what's going to happen during this new moon opposite Uranus transit, because it's a wild card. It's always a wild card, and it's there to liberate anything that's stagnant. It's there to awaken the masculine or the descending aspect of the Kundalini energy in our subtle bodies. And wherever you have your Uranus in your natal chart, there's an activation happening, or a seed level, because the new moon is really planting a seed level. And we may not even see what is arising in us, or what this liberation, this awakening is about, until we get into the spring of 2022. It could take up to 6 months to really see. Yet there is something quite immediate and sometimes even shocking with the Uranus transits when they hit. So, like I said, we can never predict exactly what it will be, but you'll feel it in your nervous system. In fact, you may already be feeling it in your nervous system. You may be feeling a little more charged or shaky, like you've had a lot of coffee, or you may... I found it's interesting, I hadn't been drinking coffee very much for the last year, and then I felt like I had been drinking too much coffee. I felt this Uranian kind of electric, it's a little bit like a stuttery kind of, magnetic with Uranus coming out. We have to shift locations here. And then underneath, the wind is blowing it in. So yeah, the storms are blowing in, that kind of energy. And I actually found that drinking a little bit of green tea or coffee matched the frequency of the energy my nervous system was trying to recalibrate. So it weirdly was calming to drink coffee. There's no logical explanation for this, but sometimes matching the energy can help create more of a balance. So you may be feeling like you need to, whatever your version of a Uranian kind of energy is, which is electrical, high frequency, supercharged, it's like being plugged into an electric socket. So that kind of energy is really what's called for. Okay, I think I'm going to make this video a little bit short, and I'll have to make another video. But anyway, let's go inside. Okay, we'll do part 2. Okay, we're back, part 2, in the inside version of this new moon. Okay, So yeah, saying leading up to it, you could feel a little sleepless, a little on edge, a little anxious, a little bit, the anxiety levels are provoked. And also with Mars and Scorpio, there's a lot of crisis energy right now, a lot of ER, ICU, emergency, things that, you know, life and death kinds of very intense, dramatic events that could feel like they come out of nowhere. So again, it's not just on November 4th, but all the days surrounding it. I've already seen a lot of that with people I know, accidents and very Tower-esque, like the Tower archetype in the tarot energies coming through. So because Mars is getting ready for this square to Saturn, he's moving into that square with Saturn right now, there's that slow down, be cautious, you know, look both ways before you cross the street, or you make any moves, like really double, triple check everything before you make a dramatic move, or you make a jump, or you take a risk. It's not really a good risk-taking time right now, I would say. It's, especially with your physical energy, be more cautious, more careful. It's interesting because I'm here, you know, with all this water, and I'm like, there's a lot of kind of like little like slipping on the steps, or like you should just be extra careful not to like drown, or water accidents, you know, all that kind of stuff with Mars and Scorpio. If you are in the water, just to be extra mindful of that. I've been feeling that too. I just went swimming, my hair is all wet. So this is the time when emotionally we're also needing to really take care of our reactions right now, because the intensity of the Scorpio buildup and a lot of deep emotions that have been suppressed could get not only amplified at this new moon, because the dark moon tends to bring up whatever's been in the dark and bring it to light, and not the way the full moon does, where it's like full on illumination, lunacy, but in that underbelly kind of way, where you really tap into whatever is driving you from the depths of your psyche. So, you know, taking time to journal or reflect, or look at your dreams, or look at those motivations or emotions, or frustrated desires, expectations that haven't been met, disappointments, projections onto other people, all of that. Just pull it all back into yourself right now. That's really what Scorpio asks for. Like, do the shadow work. I mean, I know I always say that, but now more than ever, I think with, you know, all these planets getting ready to go into Scorpio. Now, this is Western astrology, because I know sometimes I've been talking a little bit in some previous videos a while back, because I've been studying the Vedic astrology, but I'm just keeping it to the Western for now, because I'm still a student. It's going to take me some time before I make the full conversion into the sidereal zodiac. But we've got a lot of intense energies building up. So right before the right at the new moon, actually. So Venus will be ready to move into Capricorn, but she'll be at the last degree of Sag. So she'll be in Vedic, it's called the Mula Nakshatra. So it's quite an, she's been there actually for the last week. So it's a very intense kind of uprooting energy. So with relationships, with love, with money, we're kind of getting to the root level of our values. And now in Western astrology, we're gonna, well, in both, but in Western, we're getting ready for the Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which is, we're gonna be going into the shadow of that a little bit later this month. And then we have that taking us, that energy is taking us into the new year, which is really powerful. So thinking about, you know, which values are, you know, with Pluto having been in Capricorn, and this Venus retrograde is actually going to be aligned with Pluto. So thinking about which of your values have been going through a big overhaul. I mean, there's this great resignation. That's kind of the big phenomenon, right, going on in the United States, probably around the world, but I think it's especially strong in the States from what I've been reading. And people leaving corporate jobs, leaving high-paying jobs, leaving service jobs, all of it. There's just this mass exodus from dead-end, unfulfilling work. People really want to have a meaningful and purposeful career, you know, or life path. And that, I think, is going to be the big theme of this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, to really look at what is my life's purpose and my mission. And this is going to be the driving theme behind my next P40, actually, which is going to start on December 1st. And actually, a little segue too, since I'm talking about projects that you might want to get into. I'm starting this weekend, November 7th, I'm starting the next level of or next installation, I should say. It's not really a level because they're all separate modules, so you can do any of them separately or you can do all of them together. But I'm getting ready to teach the major arcana with Katie Noura, who's in Egypt, who's a tarot master teacher. And she was my mentor. And one of my mentors, I had a few really excellent mentors, but she's been one of my more recent mentors. And we love teaching together. So we created the Temple of the Tarot, and we've taught so far the minor arcana, and we've taught the tarot dimensions, and now this is going to be the major. So even if you didn't take the last two classes with us, I think this is also a great one to start with, because it's really the foundation, the major arcana. If you understand that, you can go back into the others with a lot of understanding and depth of the archetypal influences. And it's a great thing to study during Scorpio season. It's like we're all craving the mysteries and the occult. So anyway, best ways to use this new moon is to look at all of your disappointment, your darkness, expectations that don't get met. That's a big Scorpio theme. It's very much like in tarot, we call it like the Five of Cups energy, where you're focusing on what's spilled and not what's left, and your emotional vulnerability. And be very mindful of where you want to blow something up or burn a bridge or tear something down or destroy something. Now, sometimes that's very necessary with Scorpio energy, and other times it's undermining us and it's too extreme, and there's another way to do it. So the Taurus side of the equation, since we do have this rare opposition with Uranus and Taurus, the breakthrough potential, I feel, of this new moon is that we can break out of our normal patterns of that stinger, wherever we have that kind of venom, where we feel attacked or we feel hurt or we feel disappointed or we feel abandoned or whatever the trauma response might be, that instead of going to the default response, Uranus is the planet that will awaken us to ground back into our body and into our voice, and to slow things down. Again, we've also got that square to Mars. It seems like the key component of this time, or the teaching of this time, is to slow things down enough where we don't have to do things the same way we've always done them in terms of our responses, our reactions. Response is actually in the moment, it's new. Reaction is the familiar, the default, the unconscious. We just react. The response takes a lot more mindfulness, and it requires a lot of space and slowing down, or as my guru Amma says, the gap, taking the gap between the thought, word, and action, like putting more space in between each of those things. So Saturn is the best teacher for that. He teaches patience, he teaches us to slow down and to be much more mindful. So use this time, don't push, don't force things, but retreat, reflect, prepare for this Venus retrograde period, which is also it's got Saturn behind it too, because Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. So this time is very, very essential, very significant for us to learn the power of becoming mindful in our response patterns and more embodied, because the more embodied and in the moment we are, we're less likely to unconsciously go into those automatic reaction patterns, those default triggers, right? We call it triggers. So we're less likely to be triggered, and we're more creative, we're more in the moment, we're more authentic in how we actually want to respond. We don't just respond based on how we've always reacted. We respond in a new way based on what the nuance of that situation is requiring of us. And to tap into the nuance of any dynamic, it requires a lot of, this is where Uranus and Taurus is such a great teacher, deep listening. It's the Hierophant in the major arcana. So it's the deepest listening. We need to listen with our entire body. And when we do that, we pick up the nuance, and we're not going to just have that default. Okay, I gotta run, but more very soon. And thank you so much for watching. And let me know how your new moon is going and what you're learning. below in the comments. Okay, lots of love.